Hello, Classic Car Poland. Thank you for your questions on my video, and then thank you for making your video to show me what the issues were or are that you're having. Now, you've already found another video of mine that showed you how to check for fuel coming up through here and squirting out through the accelerator pump discharge nozzle. And when you look in here, you want that stream of fuel to go right straight into the throat of the carburetor. You were having fuel delivery issues. You had fuel in here, but it wasn't getting into the throat. Now remember, you have the two sections of the float bowl. This is the main float bowl area where the fuel goes into the main jets through these holes down at the bottom. This area is what feeds the accelerator pump circuit. And when you have the proper amount of fuel in here, the fuel level, when we have proper fuel pressure, and you stop the car and you remove the float bowl cover, you should have fuel right up to about the top of this little wall right here, fuel on both sides. And like I said, this one feeds the main circuit, so that if you ever have fuel dumping out of the carburetor and just pouring, no matter what you do, it's because it's coming from here, going into the circuit, into the main jets, and then just flowing right into the carburetor throat through the pre-atomizers, through these guys right inside here when they get loose. And that when the fuel just comes dumping in there, that's what's happening. Now then, in terms of the accelerator pump circuit, you've got a check valve in here. This one's missing, the check valve inside here, but on yours you've got the little brass check valve. Well, these check valves were not replaceable originally, but someone has reproduced them, and they're now available. And so you knock this out. You pound it from the inside, and it goes out the bottom, and then you install the new one from the bottom up. So you take this all apart, and this brass check valve with a little check ball inside of it is available. And that's what determines how much fuel is going to be shot into the accelerator pump diaphragm, and from there it's going to go into from the accelerator pump diaphragm. It goes through this little shaft, this hole right here, into this check ball, and this check valve, it's going to shoot the fuel right up here and out into the throat of the carburetor through the discharge nozzle right here. Periodically, these check valves will not hold, and you'll have a problem with fuel dribbling out through the nozzle as the engine is running. It'll just drip, drip, drip. Depends on how bad it's not working. Sometimes you can take them out and clean them. Sometimes you just have to change them with another good used unit and see if that doesn't cure the problem. That is in terms of you're getting this thing to run because you were boosting the throttle, hitting the accelerator, doing like this, and you weren't getting any fuel in there for starting. And speaking of starting, one of the things you mentioned you were curious about was the spring that was all bent out of shape, and this lever that was flopping around loose. This is the spring that was ruined, that somebody had messed up. This is what the spring looks like. It's not very big. And probably the reason why they stretched it and ruined it was because it's very hard to get into this little hole right here, and then it just hooks around this set screw right up here, and it's a real pain in the ass to get to. And what this lever does, this is part of your cold start with the choke activity. And what happens is, as you may notice, when you're activating the choke lever, and you see this lever here opening up, well, you see what it's doing? It's opening up the throttle right here. And what controls the amount of activity in terms of the throttle opening is this set screw right back here. This little guy. Believe it or not, from the factory, this is supposed to be set to about, about 0.15 millimeter. It's 15 thousandths of an inch, so you can do the conversion. Anyway, the gap right here on this set screw between this lever and this lever, that gap's supposed to be 15 thousandths. And what that does is that it gives you the proper amount of fast idle when you operate your choke. You can see this one. You can see what's happening here. As soon as you do the choke, this thing gives you your fast idle. Now then, the other issue you were describing, let's see, you were mentioning when you operated the throttles that nothing happened over here. Well, that's because the car only operates on the first barrel of each carburetor, and the only time that these open up there's two times when these will open up. One is when you are under a hard acceleration and the RPMs goes up above 3,000 RPMs. The vacuum from here comes over here and goes through the linkage here and will open up the second barrel. And that the only time it does that when you're operating the vehicle is when you're driving, is when you have you're under pretty good load and above 3,000 RPM, where you get enough vacuum in here that it's going to open up this the second barrel. Otherwise, when you're under a normal operation with just driving around town, normally you will notice this does not move. The other time that this is going to move is what you were asking about here, and this is called the hot choke mechanism. It sits on top here, and you're asking about when you pull the wire, it acts on these counterweights right here. And what this is designed for is to purge the carburetors of excess fuel buildup. And it's called a hot choke mechanism because these carburetors are supposed to purge or percolate fuel as they sat there with a hot engine. And you can imagine these things sit on top of the exhaust, and so it gets really hot in there, and so the fuel would percolate out, bubble out, and flood the second barrel. And since the car operates on the second barrel, since the car operates on the first barrel, for a normal operation, that means the second barrel typically stays closed. In fact, sometimes these things will be closed so long the fuel sticks in here, and you can hardly even open up this butterfly. But what they're expecting is that when the fuel pools inside here and you have a hard time starting the car, what you will do is you will push on the accelerator all the way down. You will then push down the accelerator. You will then open. You will then operate your hot start here, which will then open up the second barrel. So all barrels are open, and then you crank the car, and it draws out all the pooled up fuel that's flooded the engine. And that's the only time this is used. And I don't know of anybody that's actually ever used it. I don't think I think it's the Germans cured a problem that never existed. So that's what that does. That's why you'd never see it in operation, and you've never had to use it. Let's see. I made some notes here. Remember, the car starts and runs only on the first barrel of each carburetor. Car starts and runs only on the first barrel of each carburetor. Let's see, hot choke is not used under any circumstances to speak of, so you don't worry about that. And the fast idle and the cam right here. What'll happen oftentimes is this will slip out of place. It's real easy for this to get out of place and move to one side or the other like that, and so it comes off. It's real easy to do. And also another thing that you're going to run into is after years and years of using the choke, what you'll get is a little dent right here. and this thing will sit in the dent, and it makes it hard to operate. So I hope that helped clear up some of the questions you had for me. Good luck.